Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, PF.
Good morning.
Good morning, PF. It's so nice to see you today. It's so nice to have you on the show, Married to Ministry. I think this has been a long time coming, but only you and I know how long.
Yeah, you're right.
Only you and I know how long. I think yesterday I was thinking about the first time I was in your office. And that was like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, this man is super futuristic, but I don't know how soon the continent would understand what he's saying. And fast forward, it's happening. It seems like yesterday, but it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening full force. So before I even launch into all of the reminiscing, I'm going to introduce you. My guest is a futuristic international strategist who is passionate about family and building systems. This is just my own personal bio now that I'm talking about. But let me go into the whole spiel. Praise Fowowe is a world-class thinker, futurist, and Africa's premier creator and trainer of family systems engineering. As the principal consultant of Praise Fowowe International and the founder of the Institute of Family Engineering and Development Africa, he is an internationally acclaimed family life strategist and crisis manager. He is an authority in the field and frame of reference for many. He has developed several life-changing content in his quest to rid the world, I'm not going to say the continent, the world of sex predators and pedophiles, and basically just people who prey on family, building family. He's a highly innovative strategist blessed with original insight on relationships that have been applauded all over the continent as one of the most effective when it comes to marital, parenting, and child abuse prevention issues. He is also an author. I think when we say all of these things, we can forget so easily that you are also an author, you're a family man, you have children, you're married. You also happen to have recently, I wouldn't say recently, you happen to start an international office in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that in itself is a testament to how passionate you are about what you're doing, because you're like, yeah, people are dying. Yes, COVID is killing people, but this is still happening. Yeah. And well, funny enough, while we were so consumed with COVID and how many lives we were losing, we came to find out that even during that time, all this stuff was still happening. So I'm handing it over to you. PF, tell us a bit about you this way. I don't want to talk too much.
Okay, Bjorn, thank you very much. I just I think what has happened is I'm able to understand what is going to be, and I'm able to get ahead of the curve to create the future and how people should respond. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts I have, to be able to preempt the future and build a bridge towards the future. So I won't talk about it alone. I will create a system that can get us there. And that's what has helped me over time. I remember leaving Canada and getting back to Canada, to Nigeria before the pandemic started. And I said to my office in Nigeria that we needed to begin to, reach the entire world. So I said to them, build me a studio. And they were like, what do we need a studio for? I said, because from that studio, I want to be able to reach out to the world. And then they said, but no one is doing telecounseling and telecoaching. I said, yeah, that they have not seen it anywhere. I said, then let's start it. The day they finished building the studio and I was going to move in was the day pandemic started, and so a lot of people were asking me, I mean, so while most of my colleagues, even in America, were, a bit stuck because what they were used to were clients coming in and they sitting across the table of a client. I was in business, and eventually the Family Life Coaching Association of America had to call me to run a webinar on how to create a successful family life coaching business during pandemic. So I was able to teach them that. But if you don't monitor the time and project into the future, a lot of things will catch you unaware. But I'm not caught unawares on a lot of things because, you can literally see them happening if you understand history. So I'm excited to be here, and it's good.
I know this is going to be evergreen content for me, PM. So I'm just like, you see how I'm cheesing from ear to ear. But anyway, for anyone who's watching this or who's going to watch the replay, my name is Biodo Dafrede. I'm the host of Married to Ministry on the Soul Vibes platform. So Married to Ministry is a show that promotes healthy marriage, healthy relationships. We see marriage as God's creation, and so we believe that people need to keep getting educated on relationships and marriage, because whatever we believe, we are somehow passing it on. PF, I cannot count how many times I've had single people or married people ask me marriage questions, and I like share my own story or my own thinking. Sometimes I have to tell them, you know what? Remember what I told you last year about marriage? Scratch that. I just discovered this. So so we keep growing and growing, but it's amazing how we're passing on our own beliefs and our own systems, even when they're wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even when they're wrong. So I think it's just always necessary to have this conversation. So that's what Married to Ministry is about. We're like promoting healthy marriage and healthy relationships. But I believe that you have found a way to, and you're Christian as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you say some things that I'm like, okay, some Christians did this when you said that. We talk about how sometimes you say things are demons and they are not. They just.
I'm used to getting that feeling and people saying, "Is this guy really a Christian?" Well, I know no longer bother. I see at a session in Ireland this morning, just before I came on this, and I said some things, and one woman was like, she was almost offended, but I said to her, go think about it. When you go to that level, you would understand it, but I'm a Christian, proud one of that. I'm not ashamed of that. But it's what it is. I see what I see, and I say what I say, and if it's not disruptive, then it's not me.
If it's not disruptive, then it's not me. Okay, that is definitely a takeaway from this conversation. If we take anything away, it will be that. So tell us a bit about your faith walk. Like, when did you become a Christian in a way that you kind of by yourself said, I accept Jesus as Lord and Savior?
My dad was an Anglican priest. I've spent all my life, I was born in church, so maybe I was born in church. I understood church. I was introduced to church. But Orthodoxy is different from Pentecostalism. Pentecostalism was actually what introduced the concept of you're not born again and all. I mean, so I think I joined Pentecostalism, and I was a student on campus. I remember my life was a mess. I was very, very bad. Then I think 200 level. I just got tired. I was in my room and I was reading a book, Tough Time Don't Last, Some People Do, Robert Schuller. And I just got to a point, I was like, okay, this born again thing, let me even try it. And it was in my room, I made the prayers. That was September 1996, sorry. And from there, joined Christian Union at first. But again, I had a lot of things that contradicted what I believed. But I just realized that it's almost as if people want you to pretend to be a Christian or to pretend and live in a particular way. So you're supposed to be quiet and not extroverted. You're supposed to not work with certain people. My fellowship was so strict that if you wore a jean, you were almost like a kind of Christian. You couldn't have this my kind of hair, way back because you're not born again.
Yeah.
So I got into that mode, and people that taught me scripture, with the benefit of hindsight, they taught me what they thought the scripture was saying based on their worldview and exposure. But as I got deeper, I realized I was neck deep in religion, and I got tired 1 year like that, and I think I left paid employment. This was like 2006 or so. I just got tired, and I brought out everything I've been taught, sermon notes, and I was going to tear everything. And I said to God that I think I want you to teach me your word yourself, and I'm going to get study materials. So that was a turning point for me, because I now began to read the Bible afresh, and I saw that a lot of the things, because a man with an agenda cannot teach the Bible successfully. If you have an agenda at the back of your mind, maybe you want to build the largest auditorium, you want to build the greatest church, you already have an agenda. So everything you're going to be looking at, you're going to be using the Bible to satisfy that agenda. But I had no agenda. I don't want to be popular. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to build a church. I don't want to be a pastor. I don't want to be anything. So it was pretty much easier. Maybe it was easier for God to reach me. And every time I study, and God brought me teachers who were not necessarily born again, who were maybe Jewish rabbi or scholars, biblical scholars or theologians, who understood original context of Bible from Hebrew to Greek, who could tell me what this place was actually saying. And I realized that English did not do justice to the Bible. So I saw God in another light. I was struggling, I struggled, but I saw God in another light. I saw the Father, I saw the lover, not the killer, not the Shango kind of Amadioa fall down and die kind of thing. And that was very liberating for me, that I could talk to my Father. And I think the greatest thing I found along that journey was that I knew how to hear him. And there are word instructions that people don't have to believe them, but I have responded to those instructions and they produce results. There are instructions that people will look at me that, are you crazy? This cannot be God, but it has been proven to be God over time, so I'm much more open. It's dealt with me that I no longer see humanity from the spectrum of Christian, Muslim. I see man made in God's image, and I see myself as an embodiment of love. And I'm asking, how can I extend God's love to them? And can I be his end? I see Christ more now like an operating system, not an object of worship, an operating system that must inhabit my hardware, where my body is the hardware, where is the software, and literally run my body. So it's those kind of things that are a bit strange to many people when I talk about them. And I'm able to see things that maybe the ordinary eyes can't see, templates and systems that nobody taught in any school, nobody taught me, but I know they work, because whenever we do work, it works. So befriending the Holy Spirit as a teacher, and the audacity to respond to some of the things he shows me, I think are some of the greatest gifts I have. So I'm not your kind of person who will come out and say, God told me. You will hardly hear me say that. But you can almost be sure that most of my actions were things God said to me in my secret place, but I don't announce it. Like 7 years ago, I was having a pastor's retreat, and I was facilitating, and I asked them, what will happen if the world shuts down and nobody's able to go to church? And they told me it will never happen. And when pandemic broke, they reached out to me. And Pastor Amos was the one that reached out to me. And Pastor Amos was like, Praise, the only reason we didn't take you seriously was because you didn't say God said, and because you didn't and I said to him that it's not my way to say God said, because I also understand that I'm human, so I could be prone to error. And I think that sometimes God says is a way to escape scrutiny and to shut people down from questioning what we are saying they should do. So I never said that. My wife knows. I mean, many things that God will say to us, I would say it to her in a human language, so that she can disagree.
Yeah.
So I think that's been my journey. And I honestly enjoy my journey. It's crazy. It doesn't fall in the line of the conventional Christianity. Because me, I don't pretend. There was a day I got tired of church. I went on church for 2 years. Didn't step in any church because I was tired. I was overloaded. I was bummed down. I was depressed. So I stopped, because there is no point. So I had to step back, reassess a lot of things. But that process of stepping back did a lot of magic for me. I know God. I don't know man like that. I don't know my God through what my pastor says. I know God because I have a relationship with him.
Wow. we just went from 0 to 100. But so many important notes that you hit. You talked about how sometimes when a person is talking about God but with an agenda, sometimes it's already corrupted because that agenda is the filter. It filters like everything, right? Which is very true. And you just talk about stepping back. And I was having this conversation with my husband. We've been having this conversation. I keep bringing it up, the last 2 months. And I keep saying it's hard to heal while you are pretending that you're okay and you're in the same space. So the stepping back sometimes is very important. So you realize, look, I'm functioning faithlessly right now. I'm functioning, but the faith is like a struggle. So let me step away and look. So going to the topic of marriage now, right? It's the perfect segue. We hear people talking about fight for your marriage. You see people in situations in marriage that are not pleasant. There's infidelity, there's all kinds of things. And they're like, what, I'm going to stay and I'm going to fight for my marriage. So this question I really want to ask you, what do you think about the concept of fighting for your marriage? Where do you think generally people go wrong with the idea of fighting? Because we see people say, I'm fighting for my marriage, and then it eventually even doesn't work. So
my concept of marriage is a coming together of a man and a woman from two different nations to create a new nation that will promote the best interest of all and whose culture will give our world rest. That's my definition of marriage. So it means I came from a family, you came from another family, but we must now come together to build a new family. Now, if the new family we want to build is clear, and we are on the course of building that family, then that's fine. And we can have challenges along the way. I will fight for that. But where staying together is going to kill the two of us. There is nothing to fight for, or where even the concept of marriage is wrong from the get-go. Right? It's like you want to go to, when we teach progress, we think progress is always forward movement. Progress is not always forward movements. Progress is sometimes stepping back to where you're coming from. So, and that's why my concept of divorce is totally radically different from what people say. Again, it might offend them. So I want to come to New Jersey where you live. But I've gone to buy a ticket to Tokyo. That's Japan. All right. And we're already en route and we're stopping over in Amsterdam. Then I realized I want to go to New Jersey. Progress is not to continue and fight and say, I bought the ticket. I must land. Tokyo is not where I want to go. All right. The power God has given man is to exercise that freedom. See, this doesn't look like where I want to go. right? Because if I continue to go to Tokyo, if I land in Tokyo, the next place I'm going to is Okinawa. If I continue on that path. So progress could be, can I come back to Dallas, right? And, or if there's a connecting flight that leads there, that's what I might need to do. And that's why people need to understand that you can fight with someone who is fighting with you. Or no, who is fighting for you. Not who is fighting you. Right? How well can I fight for you, Biodun, when there's dagger? Yesterday you cut off my wrist. And I'm saying I'm going to stay to fight. This is God's way. I'm going to fight. Right? Then you cut off my shoulder. I'm saying I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight. What is the cost of this fighting? Are people not going to die? If it's going to cost me my life, I'll be stupid, because there are two covenants in there: the covenant of life and there's the covenant of marriage. Right? And so in signing the covenant of marriage, every covenant has a provision. The provision to the covenant of marriage is to hold and to share and to improve you. There is nothing within the covenant of marriage that says you're going to slap me, that you're going to beat me, that you're going to punch my face, that you're going to, strangulate me. Once you begin to introduce stuff into that covenant that contradicts the provisions of the covenant, then I have a right, because any institution with an entry without an exit is a dungeon, is going to kill people. I have a right to now activate the covenant of life, to say it takes me to be alive to even be sane. Because I see people say to me that, Praise, every time I look at my husband, I feel like killing him. So I said, go on a break. And they say, they say you can't. No. Separation is not divorce. Because once the thought begins to enter your mind, it's only a matter of time you're going to kill him. So it will pay him to stay alive and you to stay alive and to greet yourself from afar and for someone to die. Because if you die, the person that kills will go to jail. Your children will be left unattended to. And that's how you can destroy it. So for me, yes, we can fight. I can fight when I understand the battle, when I have a clear strategy, I have my timelines, and I have the willingness. And that's why I say people who have chosen to stay to fight, they are not wrong. Maybe they have a revelation, they are correct. People who say they don't want to fight, they are also correct. Maybe they have low threshold for the problem. And so you cannot blame them, because you are not inside them and you don't know their quality of preparation. And I think a lot of people are married who weren't prepared for marriage. They were prepared for wedding, they were not prepared for marriage. Because if you're prepared for marriage, you will know exactly that marriage is crisis management so consistently, but again, it now depends on the battle because if, sometimes I watch some programs around the world and I see maybe Afghanistan or see northern Nigeria, and I see, people, killing people, bombing people, I said, if I live in those places, I would have left. I would have gone to another place where that is not happening, because I keep asking myself, why do these people stay here hoping that it's going to get better? That's learned helplessness, right? So it's always important for people to know what is worth fighting for. So you can't fight for everything. And there are marriages that by the definition of marriage are not marriages. So what are you fighting for exactly? Except you want to be a matar, that's fine. But for me, I always tell people, assess the risk. Look at what you're dealing with. If this is going to lead to untimely death, that you will arrive in heaven and God will be surprised that you have arrived, then
why are you here?
Why are you here? You need
I did not send for you.
Sanctified common sense to process it and to know what you need to do. And I must say that sometimes we're trying to spiritualize what requires common sense, and say, especially when you are not the one in the pain. It's easy to give counsel. It's given to give. I don't tell people what to do. I'll present perspective and allow you as an adult, because why you got married is part of that you're an adult to make that decision, But yes, you can fight for things wherein you are assured of victory, or where victory has not been promised to you. If God says, stay there, I want to prove, God can actually say stay. God can also say leave. A lot of people don't believe that God can say leave. Now, if you don't believe God can say leave, God cannot speak to you at that level at all.
Because your mind is not even open.
I am prepared for whatever God has to say to me. I'm prepared. So to believe that God cannot tell people to leave, because I know people now quote scripture that I, the Lord, hate divorce. If you check the word, God doesn't even have the capacity to hate, right? It just means, when it says, "So have I hated," it means I do not consider this as a first option, right? That he would rather want peace to reign. But I don't think God as a father, we have a daughter who comes home one day and one eye is blind and say, go back there, go back, fight for it. The next day, another eye, that would be a very bad father. And God is not. He's a loving father.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So you are advocating for a non or an unsentimental view of marriage, and like you just said, people are caught up with weddings. They are caught up with like this ceremonial aspect of marriage. But to be honest, I've not seen many people who have a non-sentimental view about marriage. Like even understand, and we've seen what this has caused, right?
Yeah.
Even the understanding that God can want you to live somewhere for many is like, how is that possible? Because if God hates divorce, how can he want me to leave? So it's almost like everything is blurred.
Yes.
Everything is blurred.
Human beings are the ones. I'm loyal to humanity. I'm not loyal to anything can go. Because being a wife, being a husband are optional roles. There are roles that are optional. What must not be compromised is your humanity. I'm willing to, I will use every tool, every expertise I have available to save a marriage. But when it's going to cost people their life, I don't consider it as, if you think that's, sometimes I think where the problem is that people were now doing things anyhow. Do you get? So every little challenge that could be resolved, people will now want out of their marriage. That's the other extreme that they are trying to avoid when people say don't get into divorce and things like that. But we in the bid to protect, it's like when people are teaching about sex and parents are teaching children, say there's nothing about sex. If sex is over, it's not sweet. It's not. That's not true. And so when you teach that and your child now goes to experiment and say, this thing is sweet too.
They lie.
So I would rather present the truth and all the versions to you and allow you to take your decision. The burden is not on me, right? I've shown you life and death. God, why is it saying a place before you life and death? Why can't he just place life and keep death away? So we have to be, multi-sided and two-sided in our approach to things so that people can take an informed decision, and whatever decision they take, what we hold them is love. We must not withhold them, especially when their decision doesn't go well with what we think is right for them.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to ask you, how do you talk to couples all the time? How do you deal with when you are faced with a couple, one of them doesn't want to be there, the other one is fighting for their marriage, and you need both of them to get on board?
So it's the burden of responsibility is always on the person that shows up, right? And that's usually the leader in the relationship. The person who shows up is always the leader, right? Even though traditional role may not determine that, but the leader, the most matured, the leader of the relationship is one who shows up. Now, I have, as a professional, I have tools that can make me work with the person that shows up to transform the other person or to get the other person interested. I have those tools available, right? And it's strategic. This basic strategy. That's why my work is a combination of strategy, therapy, coaching, and systems intelligence, right? So I can make that happen. If you have a spouse who's not looking at you anymore, I know how to wake up the jealousy in him. I know how to do that and all those things, But so there are ways to do that.
Mm-hmm.
However, what I can't guarantee is if it's going to stay with you forever, or because some people don't have the capacity for marriage. And I'll tell you, one of the questions I ask couples that 8 out of 10 can answer successfully is, why did you get married? Because the moment the purpose for getting married is fulfilled, people are on their way out. If you got married because there are women who all they want is a child, is a baby. They don't want any man to talk to them or control them or wake up, but because society says you need to marry to get that done, they now make another man's life miserable by dragging him to marriage. The moment the baby is done, all the attention is on the baby and they leave the man. Marriage is over. So to tell the man to still be pretending to still be there and be fighting, there is nothing he's going to do that will get to her. Let him even become Christ. He's not going to get to her, because as far as she's concerned, mission is accomplished. And that's a marriage consummated on deception, right? And take, for instance, someone who needed a sponsor. Maybe the guy is broke and needed someone to, a space cooler, and the lady shows up, was nice, and blah, blah, marry. The moment he develops financial muscle, he's going to leave. So for the lady to now be thinking, I have seen this happen where a man leaves maybe a country, goes to another country, marries another woman to get papers, and stay with the woman for like 11 years. Another one is waiting down home, and they're telling her, wait, fight for your marriage. Fight for your marriage. This guy is never going to come back. He has even told her, move on with your life. Now she's waiting. She's 15 years, 20 years. She will hate herself, hate everyone because 20 years is a waste. She could have, maybe by the third year, when the guy is saying, I don't want anymore, remarried, found some, because love is always available, right? But because she was given hope and she stayed on hope, and after 25 years, the guy is not coming back, And I always say to people that because someone had that testimony doesn't mean that is the default. Miracle is not the default. Miracles are exceptions to the rule, right? So, but people try to take miracle as a default. Even so, you want to eat now. The fact that God supernaturally provided food for you today, that's not the default. Default is go and work so that you can provide food to your house and be able to eat perpetually. That's default, right? So that and said there's no water, and rain came, and you're now able to fetch water to have your bath. That is not default. Default is to dig a well or to dig a borehole to perpetually, we want to live at the realm of miracle consistently. Miracles is God announcing something that can be made possible as product and service. But we love the miraculous. And that's why it looks like we are less effective. So you have had a testimony, I waited after 26 years, my husband came back. Do you have the capacity to wait for 26 years? Our libidinal energy is totally even different from each other. So some people can wait for 26 years if God has told them he's coming back, right? But some people, they can only do 2 years, right? So you need to know yourself. If the guy has moved on, now he has 3 children, are you now going to be praying that God should scatter that so that he can come back to you? And who are you waiting for anyway? Is it Jesus Christ, second coming of Christ, that is coming back to you? What exactly is it? Move on with your life. That's what I tell people. Go get healing. Yes, you were betrayed. It's bad what he's done. But if he doesn't want you anymore, you can't force it. And that's why the concept of it takes a wise woman build a house, I don't totally agree. There is no wise woman build a house that a man has vowed to destroy, right? It takes a wise couple build a house. That's what we should be teaching, not a wise woman build a house.
Wow. Okay, PF. So I'm moving to this candid question. And this person says, my friends always refer to their spouses as their best friends. I don't feel that way about my spouse. Does this mean that there's something wrong with my marriage?
There's nothing wrong with you. Your spouse had a life before they met you. All right. And they had a best friend in primary school, a best friend in secondary school, a best friend before they met you. And you're not going to overtake those best friends over. Now, you even have your own best friend. So the concept, I think, is one of the things that I put pressure on a lot of relationships. People say your wife has to be your best friend. Your wife doesn't have to be your best friend. In fact, when it comes to friendship, check your life. The people you can call your best friend, you can almost not remember how they became your best friend and how they worked. It was almost as if life called them into your life. You didn't plan it. You didn't sit down there and say, this year, Biodun is going to be my best. I'm going to get close to this Biodun and she's going to be my best friend. It doesn't happen that way, right? So to attempt to, with a sense of entitlement, say, I must be your best friend, it's not true. It's not true. because there are things you may not even be able to. You see, best friendship is vulnerability. Best friendship is non-judgmental, right? So what it means to be my best friend means that I can be stark naked, open everything before you. Do you have capacity? Ordinary, somebody did something, we are still telling you, you are shouting, you are screaming. You say, I don't want you around that person. So if I now tell you what I'm dealing with, can you handle it?
Can you withstand it?
You
Yeah.
withstand it. So don't put pressure on yourself. Right?
Wow.
You need to make your marriage work. Make your marriage work. You don't have to be best friend of anybody. If best friendship happens, to God be the glory. If it doesn't happen, enjoy your life. Enjoy your marriage. As a matter of fact, you see, best friendship can make you choke yourself up where you don't even have space. I mean, you go around with your friends, go on girls outing or whatever, boys outing. Let us go. When we come back, when we share notes, we share what boys did, what girls did, and blah 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 blah. That's what I think people need to do. But if your spouse is your best friend, fantastic. But I don't think people should force and impose what is unrealistic and force it on people. Because I you don't. Some best friendship have a history. So take for instance, two people have been best friends for 30 years. Right? In those 30 years, they were poor, they were broke, they drank Gary, they struggled. One sacrificed his school fees for the other person. Then you now marry. You now say, I don't want to see you without your best friend again. I must not be your best friend. How? It's like saying that choose between me and your mother. You don't know the history.
Which is designed to fail. Anyway.
I mean, you don't know the history. It should not even be, we should not be talking about it because you don't know my history with my mom. You just showed up, right? And so I'm going to pretend that because we are now married for 2 years, you are now, which is why I think we just love to lie to ourselves. When people say, in 1 year, you are the best thing that has happened to me in my life. Really? If that person never showed up in your life, so who is the next best person that has happened to you in your life? I think we just lie to ourselves and fool ourselves, and I don't live in those fool paradise or whatever. I'm a realist, right? If best friendship work for you, that's fantastic. If it doesn't work, hey, move on with your life, but don't break your marriage on undue pressure to say best friendship. People ask me, Praise, do you tell your wife everything that you go through or everything that happens? The answer is no. I'm a custodian of people's secrets. My work is confidentialism. In fact, there are clients, because my wife is family finance, very heavy on family finance. There are clients working with me on maybe infidelity or their issues, and my wife is working with them on finances. So one day, one of the clients said, we told them, we thought TPF would have informed. I said, no, we don't.
We're not sharing that.
We don't. She's working with you as a professional. I'm working with you as a professional. We don't share those kind of stories, because it's a breach on confidentiality. You can. So don't put unnecessary pressure on yourself, please. Just enjoy your marriage and find what works for you.
Thank you for laying that out there. So we have limited time. I'm trying to actually just rush, right? Because I know you have to go ahead to do other things. Okay, so is it possible to repair a spouse's self-esteem?
Who is repairing it? The wife or who damaged it? Who's going to repair it?
No, the spouse has self-esteem issues.
You should not marry the person. You should not have married the person with low self-esteem to start with.
Okay, but in a situation where they are married, this person loves his wife, and he sees how the self-esteem issues is keeping her from really doing what she should do. Like if she's supposed to apply for a job, she'll be like, they won't take me there. If she's supposed to do this, they won't take me there. And he's like, this isn't working.
That's deeper than low self-esteem. There is a history to that. There are some trauma in that person that needs to be fixed. So get your spouse to see a professional. All right, someone needs to work with her. One thing I've realized is that one of the most difficult things to change in people is the mindset. Very tough. You can give your arm and your leg and your life to change somebody's mindset. God tried it, he failed with the Israelites in the wilderness. Only 2 out of close to 1 million people made it to the promised land. That is an instruction, a template. If God Almighty did not succeed with them like that, how do you do it? Right? So what you can do is to love people regardless of whatever mentality they are observing. I mean, maybe that's where this prayer of serenity comes in. God give me the chemical to change what I cannot, whatever. You know what way I'm talking about.
I
You
know
know,
that.
I always say to people, you see, that she's negative did not start from today. It must have started premaritally. And if you can't deal with that, you shouldn't have married the person. But now that you marry the person, I think you should check her in to see a coach, or you check her in to work with someone. There must be a history there. Something must have happened in a history that is a significant emotional experience for her that makes her look at life from that negativity out. But the person also needs to become responsible, because people's negativity sometimes serves a purpose, because that is the only time that people pay attention to them. So it's feeding them consistently.
So it's like attention, like an attention.
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
So if I let's say if I went through divorce, for example, right? Ideally, I should move on, isn't it? Right? But if I begin to talk about everything that's happened to me, my divorce is what caused it, I would be repeating the story, because that's what brings empathy. And that's when people come to me, because without that story, nobody sends me. So that story is serving a positive purpose for me. It's a selfish purpose. So as long as it serves that purpose, because the fear now is, if I stop telling this story now, nobody will be coming to me. So I will keep repeating this. That's why sometimes I have some mentees, I get to a point and I go opposite what I've been doing. And I say, hey, wake up. And they say, Praise is hard, because I saw irresponsibility. And I saw that the story they are painting and regard, because you have worked on this for 2 hours, worked on this, then they are still coming with the same story. No, I'm not going to take that irresponsibility. So sometimes what we think is pain is not pain to the person that is going through it. It's serving a purpose. There's a pleasure they are deriving from it. You don't know. So you are breaking your head to say, no. But without those stories, the person will not feel empathy, will not feel your presence, will not.
Yeah.
So that's a strategy to keep you, at least you are engaging them, you are running around for them, you want to change them, because there is the inner fear.
Yeah.
As they develop sound confidence, you will no longer be there. And they can't stand that. So you need to figure out exactly what is happening. That's why you need to check them into a professional to know exactly what's going on.
So speaking of, professional services and all these things that we've been talking about, where I'm in Jersey, you are I suspect in Dallas, Texas, or one of those places sometimes, because you are everywhere. So tell us, is there like a program, something that we should know about that's happening this summer, that's coming, we should be looking out for?
Yeah, I have a session coming up for parenting in the diaspora, how to intentionally script your child. It starts I think first Sunday in July. Yeah. First Sunday in July. That's scripting a child for success in the diaspora. If you go to praisefowowe.com/script icons, you will be able to sign up for that. But basically what we do there is we build you a framework of the system that will first change you, because you will be able to heal from your trauma. That's the first class we usually do, because if you can't become wholesome, you can't raise a wholesome child, then we give you a framework and template across 3 weeks on what to do with your children as well. And I have I do coaching for people who have troubled marriages all the time. I'm just an email away from you, praise4@gmail.com. But then I have a lot of people who are also professionals that we can refer you to in case I'm too expensive for you. So we have quite a number of people. So those are I've worked so hard. So summer I'm doing less this year. I just want to rest.
Okay.
So I'm not putting up a lot. I'm turning down a lot of programs this summer.
Okay, I understand. So summer, everyone wants to rest. I'm going to go to my final candid question, but I want to ask you something that also popped up in my mind. If you are if someone signs up for the class for scripting kids in diaspora, how, and you have a spouse that doesn't believe in the fact that the kids even need to be scripted or taught anything extra, how do you manage that?
That's when people say they are married, I think they don't understand what couple means. Couple means that the two of you are one, right? And so a lot of discussions are left hanging before people get married that they never discuss.
Oh yeah.
So that you are in a marriage and you want to improve, you want to go on a class that can improve your kids, and your spouse is not willing to go, is already putting a question mark on that marriage, right? To say that you are no longer a couple, maybe you are just housemates or your emotional mates staying together, right? But what I always say that if your spouse is not willing, do it for the sake of your children. At least you will gain knowledge and you'll be able to save the day. I mean, there are sometimes you call a meeting, maybe men don't show up. At least let the women show up. At least when somebody knows what to do, the person will be able to save the family in the days of crisis than for the two of you to just be ignorant. Ideally, both of you should turn on. I mean, I travel tomorrow on Monday, and I mean, last month I was in Canada twice, but I'm going back again, on Monday, and someone is asking me, "Oh, Praise, why are you going?" I said, because my son is graduating from mid school, right? And even my son told me, said, "Daddy, you don't have to come. I know that your schedule is very busy. Mom can represent you." But my wife and I, everything that involved the children, we are showing up together, right? Because we can't be saving the world and leave our children. So it's costing me extra, but I've got to do it. And those are memories, moments, those are the things you do with your children. So if your husband or your wife is not willing, you do it. And I'm sure it will help the family at the end of
the day. Wow. Okay. You can't be saving the world and leave your own family. That is very major, especially because this show is called Married to Ministry.
Yeah.
And that is a major topic. In fact, it was a question for today. I just knew we did not have the time to really tackle that. Please, Praise Fowowe is on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel. There are extensive videos, there are extensive conversations on there. He talks about all these things. So go and stalk his YouTube and binge on his videos. There's so much in there on his videos. So I'm going to ask the final candid question, which is let me see. So my husband doesn't take any decisions without presenting it to the men in his family, brothers and their father. So I guess she means his brothers and their father. It makes me feel useless, like my opinions don't matter. What can I do to change it?
Well, I think you're married to a family, not a husband. All right. And so the real husband is the family. Those people he's talking to are the husband. So the husband, you thought the husband was a I, the husband was a we in this case, and it's a problem because, again, my definition of marriage, coming together of a man and from two different nations to create a new nation. So what is happening is you guys have not created a new nation. You have not discussed your family vision and where your family is headed. So what has happened is there's a continuation of his own family being brought into your family. We call that recolonization in marriage. Because the moment as the head of the family, what you protect is the territorial integrity of your family, where your family is your wife, yourself, and your children. The moment you now have to allow an external nation to invade your nation and control your nation, that's recolonization. It means you have ceded leadership. So it's better to actually move out of your house and move into family house so that you can be living from there, because that's where you're being controlled from.
You can be saving, there's no need for gas bill.
In that case, I think you should have a conversation with him. If he still doesn't get it, then maybe you need to work with if I work with you on strategy, one of the things I'm likely going to do that will get to him is for every matter I'll go and talk to my people so that I can also bring that. I mean, that will raise some flags with him, and then he'll calm down to be able to talk, to say that, hey, we got married because we are adults. I didn't get married to a we. I got married to my husband, and why would you go and run everything? And again, maybe they have a bond in the family, which is not bad. However, there has to be, some boundaries. Therefore shall a man leave his father and the mother and cleave to his wife. I'm sure that God knows that men have the tendency to remain there. Was why he said we are the ones that should go and cleave. So you want to look at why does it do that? And I mean, there could be something there, a story there. If you find the story there, we can create an intervention. Yeah.
Okay. So let me see. Thank you for everyone. Thank you everyone who has joined us today, who has dropped a comment. When we are done here, please share this video. PF, this is season 2, right? On Married to Ministry. This is episode 6. And what I've got from every single episode is that there is so much work that needs to be done before the marriage that is
Absolutely.
missing. There's like this huge hole.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the problem is often premarital. I mean, a lot of people that come to me and they want to pay so much to solve the problem. I always tell them, if I'd run your assessment before marriage, it would have been clear to you not to get married. Because I mean, there are assessments that you can run and it will pick the problem in the childhood, it will pick the problem they have, it will show you what they need to fix before marriage. And when those things are not fixed, people just think a miracle is going to happen. No, the person you're married to is a full-grown human being, a PhD holder, produced from a system that is representing. So it's worldview. And that's why the concept of opposite attract, I don't agree. Kind is what you bind, not opposites. Because if you marry your opposite, you're going to be dealing with a lot of issues.
That is deep. Okay, so kind should bind. I definitely agree. There has to be some underlying principles both of you agree on. You cannot be completely opposite. Like that's not
it's
thing.
a recipe for disaster. I love to go to party. I love to talk. You love to stay at home. You'll be dragging me to stay at home with you. I'll be dragging you to go out. So we are going to make our own lives miserable at the end of the day. But there are a lot of party freaks out there that wants to go to party. Let me marry one of them so that we're partying all together. So it's kind. Opposite things attract. Opposite beings will eventually repel. Care is not taken.
Wow, that is deep. So if you're watching, please, anyone who is single, people who are like, especially, I'm not even talking about those who are already engaged. PF, I'm sure you work with those that are engaged. Yeah. But I think at this point, it's safer to start earlier. Okay, I've entered this phase, I want to get married.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there is a material I have on my website. If you go to my website, praisefowowe.com/courses, there is a material called How to Bond and How to Discover and Bond with Your Spouse. It's actually the user's manual model. What you do with those material is, if you answer all the questions there, it totally articulates your life, shows you in less than 3 hours who you can marry, who you should not marry, where the people who think like you are, and how you should position, basically. Because a lot of people want to give themselves out in marriage. They don't even have themselves. They don't know who they are. If you don't have yourself, you don't know who you are. How will you know what you need? So, and that's where it starts from. Self-discovery, understanding yourself without all the things that they've taught you. This is you being naked, being open, and the question you're answering include, what are your deal breakers? Include, I am Praise Fowowe.
Oh, I am Praise Fowowe.
Yeah. Including your deal breakers, including your fantasies, right? So some people have some weird fantasies that the spouse does not know until they now get married to say, these are my fantasies, and the person cannot meet it, right? People don't like, I know people, I've worked with, someone who at the beginning of the year tells her husband, sweetheart, this is the beginning of the year, sex is going to be 3 times this year. It's I am Praise Fowowe. Sex is going to be 3 times, so pick your date. How do you survive those kind of things, right? So those such women should marry men who also want those kind of 3 years and 3 times in a year, and not marry someone who wants every day and you make his life miserable. So premarital assessment, very key. I recommend it all the time.
PraiseFowowe.com, /courses.
Yeah.
Thank you, PF. I know that I know that this is something. So for people who are married who are watching, which is many of the people who are on the platform, so PF isn't saying it's not something that cannot be done now. Like, help cannot happen right now, right? And I also want to say that we are praying, we are prayerful people, we love the Lord, we advocate for reading God's word and following God's way, but we also advocate for being educated on these things, and just even asking ourselves, like, most of the things that we do, why are we doing them? What started it? Do we need help? Like, help isn't weakness. And that's why I love what PF does. And I love the fact that he always, PF, I need to ask you, do you still train? I know that you spent some years training like therapists under you.
Yeah.
You still train?
Yeah, we do that. There's even a court that is going on right now. They're in their 2nd week. And there'll be another, I think there'll be a court in North America later in the year. I think there's a court in North America in October. Usually 12 weeks, once a week in class, but there are a lot of videos online. Yeah, I do. And it's one of the things I want to focus on a lot here next year, because we need to train more people.
Yeah.
To do the work here in North America.
Yeah. Thank you so much, PF. So glad to have you on. And to everyone who has joined us, Worshipper Gladys, and everyone else who has joined us, please don't forget to share this video. These are videos that I'm like, okay, we went through the pandemic. We've gone through so many things that you would think would even bring couples closer. But then it even revealed more problems. We need to fix these issues. If God will be glorified, then he would want for in our own homes for peace to reign. Thank you, PF, for everything that you're doing.
You're welcome,
And for
Biodo. Thanks for
agreeing to be
inviting me.
and for agreeing to be on the show. I love it when I see people who are very futuristic and have gone through phases where people are like, what the are they doing? And then you actually see what they're doing. It's very good to see. God bless you. Have a
Amen.
wonderful weekend, everyone.
Bye, you too. Bye.